We return to the prospect of talks now in question between President Trump and Kim Jong-un of North Korea. For more on what the recent back and forth means, I'm joined by Joel Wit. He worked as part of the State Department team that negotiated a nuclear agreement with North Korea during the Clinton administration. He's now a senior fellow at the U.S.-Korea Institute at Johns Hopkins University and founder of 38 North. It's a website that focuses on Korea. Joel Wit, thank you very much. Welcome back to the program. How do you read what North Korea is saying right now?
Well, there are a number of different ways to read it, but I think the main way to read it is that for months we've been used to North Korea essentially being a pussycat, which is very different from the way they've been in the past. And I think now they're reverting back to their past behavior in the run-up to the summit, and that means trying to heighten the pressure on the United States to give them a good deal. And by threatening to not go to the summit, that's their attempt to do that.
What precipitated this? Can you tell what was behind these statements?
Well, aside from the general North Korean attempt to play tough guy, which they normally do, there could have been a number of other things that were going on. One, it may reflect difficulties in secret preparatory talks that are leading up to the summit that I think are being held in Singapore.
These have been underway.
They've been underway because, as we all know, the leaders don't sit down at a summit and negotiate agreements by themselves. There's a lot of preparation ahead of time. So it could be a reflection of that. But secondly, it's also a reaction to some of the statements by Trump administration officials like John Bolton, which basically say to the North Koreans, you give up your nuclear weapons and then we'll reward you afterwards. And that's unacceptable to them.
So if Bolton's statement went too far, which as we reported earlier, the White House sounds like they're backing away from, they're saying we don't have a specific plan for what we think North Korea should do. But it does sound as if then there's room for the North Koreans to do something, to do some steps, some measure toward nuclear disarmament.
Well, that's exactly the case. That's what a negotiation is about. So what we're hearing are, at least from the United States, we're hearing the opening position, which is you give up everything, and then we'll give you something in return. And the North Korean position, which isn't public, but I'm pretty sure is, no, we'll gradually give up things, but you give us things in return during that process. So the issue is whether the two sides can meet somewhere in between that's acceptable to both.
So the Trump administration, the North Koreans are saying you need to do something about these joint exercises, the U.S. and South Korea. They're saying a couple things. The Trump administration has been saying we're not going to make any concessions. It's entirely up to the North. But in fact, are there steps that the U.S. and South Korea are going to need to seriously consider taking before there can be any deal?
Well, there are a lot of steps because what the North Koreans are going to demand are, first, the normalization of relations with the United States, the establishment of diplomatic relations. Secondly, they're going to demand lifting of the sanctions. And the third step they're going to demand is a peace treaty. And all of these are big steps for the United States and South Korea to take. And the issue is whether we're willing to do that and get denuclearization in return.
Were you, before these statements happened in the last few days, or from the 24 hours from North Korea, did you have a sense that things were moving in a positive direction?
You know, it's very difficult to say because most of us can only see what's going on in public, and there wasn't much going on at all except occasional public statements by the North Koreans and the United States. So it's hard to say whether things are moving in the right direction. And this could be the first sign that things aren't moving in the right direction. And so we need to watch very closely and see what happens from now to the summit.
What do you expect to happen next? I mean, who makes the next move?
I'm not sure there are any more moves yet because these secret talks are underway. We'll see what happens in those, and there could be more back and forth publicly. But if we don't see an escalation of the current exchanges between President Trump and the North Koreans, then that means things are moving along in the right direction.
Do you have a gut instinct, Joel Wit, about whether this gets back on track or not?
You know, all along I've thought that there will be a summit, and a lot of people have been very skeptical about that. And my analysis is from the North Korean angle. I think they are very serious about having a meeting with President Trump and finding a way from confrontation to a peaceful path forward. The issue is, as I said earlier, whether we can make the two sides' positions come together in a way that's acceptable to both.
Joel Wit with the U.S. Korea Institute at Johns Hopkins University. Thank you.
Thank you.